Howdy, welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be going over Ryobi's handheld cordless blower. Is this in the way?
Kind of, yeah.
Let's go ahead and put this down. It's for a later video anyway. So in today's video, we're going to be going over the newest handheld blower that Ryobi has come out with. Now, normally I like to use something for a while and then review it. I've actually been using this quite a few times here around the place, and I've actually really started to like it like a whole lot. Now, this one is more like a drill, so more like some of these up here that you see. So it is very handheld as opposed to the more traditional blowers that they have out there. Now, these work really good for blowing leaves and stuff, but if you're trying to work on a surface like this, then it kind of becomes a little gangly to hold these up and try and get your surface. And in fact, that's why I bought this. I'm currently working on sanding and painting a bunch of doors in this house. They're the exterior doors, and I'm having to sand all of the old paint off of it because they didn't apply it correctly. It balls up the paint and you have a bunch of balls on it. Well, you need to get rid of it. Well, that's where this comes into play, because you don't have to hold it like this. You can just hold it down on your work surface and move your hand along and actually blow the stuff off your work surface. Now with this, it actually comes as a kit. So you have two extensions, and then you have two different nozzles that can go with it. You have a wide dispersed nozzle, and we also have a concentrator, and it has a rubberized end that you can see. So if you bump this against something, you're not going to mar it with the plastic, you'll just bump it with the rubber, which is a great little feature. I actually really like that they did that. And it does neck it down, so it also concentrates the airflow into a tighter area. It's kind of like a choke on like a shotgun or something like that.
And James was rubbish with a shotgun.
Whoa! Now the neat thing that Ryobi did with all of these extensions and tools is if you want to go ahead and put the connector on this part, you can do it on just that one. If you want to do an add-on, simply slide on your add-on, and then you can still put your connector on that one. You find that that's not long enough, you can pull that off.
Another one.
Put on another connector, and then put your end on. And if you purchase more of these, you could actually have a whole bunch of these connected up. And then of course, at any point, if you'd rather have the wider nozzle, you just simply take the wider nozzle and put it on, and you're good to go. Now, the other thing that they have done with these, they have an arrow here, and then on the tube, we actually have an arrow as well. So we simply align those two arrows, put it together, and twist, and you can even see that we have an unlocked and a lock. So that lets you know when you're locked in. And once it's locked in, it's not gonna be going anywhere. That's not going anywhere. Now, if you tried really hard, you could probably break the pins and pull this out, but it's pretty firm. But the question is, how does this one compare to something like this one? Well, this one is specifically model PSBLB01, while this one is a little bit older, and this is model P2109VNM. So this older one is 90 miles an hour and 200 cubic feet per minute, or CFM. This smaller one goes up to 140 miles an hour, and it's 220 CFM. So you actually get more CFM with this one, and you get a theoretical faster speed of the air coming out the end. So that's pretty standard for the 18 volts. We also have some older ones like this one, and this one is going to actually put out more CFM than that one. Plus we have these really nifty ones that are in the 40 volt series, and these 40 volt series put out a ton of CFM. This is actually my main go-to. It has primarily two speeds on it. You got low and high, and then you actually have this little turbo button up here. So this thing's insane. It blows like nobody's business. And if you're interested in a video about this, be sure to leave it in the comments below, and I will be happy to create a video about that. Love these handles because they make hanging it up really easy whenever it comes to storing these up on the rafters. So like I said, on this little tool, I've actually really fallen in love with it. And the part that I really like is not only can you change those adapters, but it actually operates on both batteries. So we can use the standard 18 volt battery, or we can use the high output battery. And you can see that there's additional connectors on the rear of the high output. And if we look at the tool itself, you'll see that there's connectors here on the bottom. And all that does is it allows the tool to perform more optimally over the entire duration of the battery pack. Now, another nice feature about this one compared to something like this is I'm going to turn this one on and I want you to listen to something. It's off and it's on. There is no variable speed with this one. With this one, however, if you gently pull the trigger, you'll actually get a small stream of air that's coming through. Pull the trigger a little bit further and you'll speed up. So that allows you to dial in just exactly how much air movement you're looking for. This will allow you then to do delicate work. If you're looking for something that's not going to blow everything away and you want to be more pinpoint, this will definitely allow you to be more pinpoint. And because of the variable speed trigger, it's going to allow you to only put out the amount of airflow that you're looking for. Now, as you heard, this thing sounds a bit like a jet. Now, it says on here that it's 59 decibels. I do not have a decibel meter, and I'm sorry about that. Maybe in the future, that's something I can invest in for these review videos, because knowing how loud these things are is really important. The difference between the two volumes, this one is definitely louder, but more important, this is more shrill than this one is. This one has more of a tenor type sound, whereas this is definitely a soprano, and it screams at you. So no jet engine here. You have the jet engine sound here. For some people, that is going to be a detractor. For people like me, that's not a detractor at all. It does not faze me to have that sound coming out of it. It works, and that's what I love about it. The other nice thing about this is we actually have a lock feature here. So we have a slide button, and you can pull the trigger back and push the slide in, which I'm gonna do here. And it keeps it on. Now, cool thing about that is you could actually have a little bit of fun and fling it all around the place. That's how much power this thing has. Watch the pressure that this thing puts out. It's that much volume of air that it's spitting out that it's actually going to kick it back. I'm gonna hold it very loosely. So you do have to have a little bit of strength with it in order to hold it. Now, most people aren't gonna have a problem with that, but if you are somebody who has strength issues, then keep that in mind. This may run away from you, especially if you decide to lock this on. You saw how it wanted to spin. It's going to spin on you. If you drop this on the ground, it's gonna spin. It's gonna go all over the place. So keep that in mind when you do use the lock feature. So I do really like the lock feature. I think that that's really nice, and I actually have used it several times. The one thing I wish was different on the lock feature is I wish that you could lock it at a low speed. One of the most difficult things with this that I have found whenever I was doing my sanding is to keep it at that low consistent RPM like this. Now, it's easy whenever you're sitting on a surface like this, but as soon as you start moving and you start doing work, you're gonna start squeezing it more, which is going to increase and possibly cause your work surface to have other issues that you weren't planning on. So I do wish that that lock button, Ryobi, if you could make that lock button work at any point, or as we have seen on a lot of drills, they actually have a dial on the front, so you can lock it, then that dial can dial in how much volume you're actually sending out. So there's different ways of doing it, different solutions to do that. But again, I love the lock. Don't get rid of the lock, adding some features onto the lock so that I can use the locking feature at different RPMs. Okay, so first we're gonna start with the handheld unit, and you can see there's a little bit of debris here. We got a dead walking stick over here, so we're just gonna kind of blow this stuff down the driveway. And the reason I'm blowing it down the driveway and not off is because I wanna use the other one so you can see the difference. I'm also gonna be starting with the nozzle that chokes down, and then I'm gonna be swapping out to the wider nozzle. Okay, so that nozzle did really good. Let me swap out real quick to the wide nozzle. Okay, and again, we see the width on this one. Now, as you could see, it didn't actually move as much because whenever you make it go wide like this, you end up dispersing your air that you're blowing to a wider area. So whenever it does move the stuff, it's not going to move it as far. I am going to show the typical leaf blower, and let's move the same stuff. We're just going to move it further down on the driveway. We're not going to be using the handheld. I'll turn it backwards. All right, well, let me put this one back on so we can see real quick the difference. Now what I want to do is I'm going to put it right here and let's see how far this blows so we can see roughly how far it blows the stuff out. So that's a good 6 foot. Now let me do this one and let's see how far it blows it away. You can see the difference right there between the two. So this one blew it to right here, but the handheld one actually blew it about twice as far. That's really impressive. Now, they're both good. They're both great tools. I like them both. This one was actually my dad's that I inherited whenever he passed away. And this is a recent one that I purchased. And of the two, again, I like them both. They're for pretty much the same use, but whenever it comes to all the projects I do, this one is now my go-to. I love having this, but as far as blowing the driveway, I actually use the 40 volt to do that. So here we have some gravel, and let's see how well the traditional leaf blower does on just moving the gravel around. Okay, you can see that it does a good job. You can actually see my tire tracks from the tractor down in here. And it did a pretty decent job. It really moved everything around. Now let's try the handheld and let's see if it does any better or worse. I think that's a heck of a lot better and a lot faster within the same area. Now let's go ahead and pull the concentrator off of here real quick. I am curious if the concentrator is making that much of a difference, because if we look at our ends, that concentrator really nexed it down, and now we're closer to the same diameter, closer. So let's see how it does without that concentrator. I'm gonna go just beside it. Let's see if it's just as quick. It is a little bit slower, but not by much. So the concentrator definitely helps. Now, let's try the really broad one and see how much slower that one's gonna be. So we'll do the same thing. Gonna go through here, roughly the same distance. Definitely a wider berth. I mean, look how wide this thing blows. That's a nice wide berth, but then if we pull this one off and we put on the concentrator, oops, let's see how much more narrow this is. Wow, that just eats through it. That is amazing how much more powerful that is. So they both work. The wider one actually did a really good job here. However, of the two, if this is what I was going to be doing, I wouldn't use this particular one. I would actually use this because it did such a better job of getting the whole thing. And this one sent dirt everywhere, whereas this one was more directed and did a much better job of keeping it away from my poor cameraman. That is a quick usage. Now let's go try it on some decomposed granite and let's see how it does on that. Here we have some decomposed granite, and this stuff is really good for pathways and those kinds of things because it actually allows water to flow through, but it likes to stay put. It doesn't get washed very far away. But as you can see, we got a little bit of grass from the last time we were able to weed eat around here. So let's see how the traditional leaf blower does, just moving some of this debris around. Okay, that did really good job. You can see that a lot of the debris has been pushed off on this side, which is what I was looking for. Now, the nice thing about that particular blower is it wasn't a large volume of air concentrated, so it moved a little bit of the rock, but it didn't send the rock flying. So with this one, as we saw with the gravel, we're gonna have to be very careful with it because if we concentrate it too much in a given area, we're just gonna take this decomposed granite and just send it flying. So let's be a little bit more careful this time. You can see though, even with a half trigger pull, that we are actually causing a lot of the gravel to move. So let's go ahead, in this case, let's take off the concentrator and let's put on the wide one. And let's see if that one does better for this. Oh yeah, much better. Getting a nice wide berth. We're moving a lot of debris, but not a lot of the granite, which is what we're looking for. Now, if you want to concentrate and go like this, obviously you can move a lot of granite, but that's not what we're trying to do with this. We're just trying to get the leaves and such off. So as you could see, the wider opening actually allowed to move smaller debris, lighter debris on top of that decomposed granite. So there are absolutely times when this is the thing that you want versus the concentrator. So you need to be mindful of what your goal is and what your task is. Now, unfortunately, as nice as these are, this isn't gonna have those features on it, at least not this one. It doesn't have any interchangeable tips. It doesn't have any way to speed it up or slow it down. It's on or off. That's what this one is. So with this one, you actually get a lot more features with this, plus you get the fact that you can use it on your other projects as just a small handheld item. So for me, this is one of those items that if you're in the market for one of these types of things, I would recommend this one. I've not had a problem with it. It's not had any issues with the motor. I've not had any problem with the batteries. I've not had a problem with it eating too much battery. In fact, of all that use that we did, this was fully charged, we now have gone down a single bar. Let's see what we've done. This one's probably not gonna be as much. So this one's still showing 4 bars. It probably wouldn't take much at all to get it to go down to 3. However, these are probably going to end up being a little bit more efficient on power than ones like this. So if battery longevity isn't a concern of yours, then you might want to look at the more traditional as opposed to this powerful handheld one. So sorry for all the sweating I've been doing in this video. It is really hot here in the state of Texas right now, so you'll forgive me. We're over 100 degrees in the shade today. So yeah, that's gonna result in me sweating a lot. So that goes over the tool. And for me, as I have obviously alluded to, this is a smart buy as far as I'm concerned. I've really enjoyed it. So I believe that if your use case is similar to any of the examples that I've shown today, then it would make a smart purchase for you. If you have any questions about this specific tool, please be sure to leave them down in the comments. I love reading all of the comments, especially ones like this. Wow, that's a long, detailed comment. That viewer was obviously either AI or really likes what I do. So thank you very much for that comment, and I do appreciate all of those. And if you have any questions about any of the tools that are behind me as well, or any that you see or you're curious about, be sure to post them below. And my goal here is to try to give a real user's review. All of these to date, I have purchased all of these with my own money. Ryobi does not, or Ryobi as they call themselves now, they have not sponsored me at any point. This is literally all of my own money that has gone into all of this equipment that I have here. And I've got a video that's a little bit further back that actually talks about why I moved to Ryobi and why I've stuck with them at this point, and why I like them so much. Thanks for watching.